In this video we will build comments with replies inside React. And actually this is quite complicated but popular feature that you need almost for every project. Here I have generated Create React App project. As you can see, it is completely empty. I just have here app.js, this is our empty app component, and here my index.js. I don't have anything special here. The only important part is import index CSS here. And actually I already prepared CSS for our whole project. So we should not care about writing any CSS, we will simply use classes from this file. And you should not just retype it from the screen, I will link the whole source code in the description box below, so you can take this file from there. Other than that, I have just a single file, API.js, and actually this file will help us to emulate working with real API, because every single method in this file will return promise for us, exactly like real API will do. And now it's time to talk about correct format, how we will get our comments from backend. And actually there are two possibilities here. You can get nested comments, like for example you have a parent and then replies inside, which means you simply throw this data inside your component and render it with map. But actually this way is problematic because you can't control it or change how you want. The second possibility is to get flat data, and my recommendation is always to get comments in a flat way. As you can see here, we have a function getComments, and this is exactly how I am getting comments from the backend. So this is the array of objects, these are our comments, and they are completely flat. And here inside every comment we have an ID, body, this is our text, username, so we can render the author of this comment, user ID, this is super important for us because we must know who created this comment. Then we can compare current user ID with this user ID to know if we are allowed to modify this comment or remove it. And also we need here parent ID. And this is exactly the property which solves for us nesting. So parent ID null means that this is our root comment. And now here on the bottom I have parent ID 1, which means this comment with ID 3 belongs to our comment, first comment, because ID 1 is here, which actually means that we must read the structure and build comments in the way how we want to render them. So now let's start with creating our components. And actually we are making the whole feature comments. This is why here inside source I want to create additional folder and name it comments. Now inside I want to create three different components. First of all is a component for the list. Our second component is a single comment. And the last component that we need is our comment form. Let's create them now. This is why I want to copy the content of our app.js, because actually we need the same structure in every component. This is why I'm jumping back inside comments, and let's create here our comments.js, and it will be our list. And I'm pasting everything here. We can simply name it comments, and inside div we can render comments, and now export default comments. And now we need to copy this component and create next component, and it will be single comment. This is why here will be comment.js. I'm pasting everything inside and just renaming it to comment. Now I will copy it again and create the last component, and it will be our comment form.js. And let's paste everything here and just rename it to comment form. Here will be text comment form. And let's export it here like comment form. Now we need to render our list of comments inside our app component. This is why I am jumping inside app, and here I need to import on the top our comments component from, and here will be our comments feature / comments file. Now under our h1 we can render our comments, and the question is what we need to pass inside. And actually there is one important thing, this is current user ID. So actually only people who are logged in can leave comments for us. This is why we must know current user ID. And normally you are fetching it from the backend, or maybe backend is rendering inside window for you current user ID. We don't have such logic, this is why here, just for the sake of testing, I will pass inside current user ID. And here let's say it is 1. In this case we can compare this current user ID with user ID inside every comment. But obviously inside real application you won't have here static data, but you will get the ID, for example, from window or from the API request. Now let's check if everything is working. I'm jumping to browser, and as you can see, here is our comments, which means our component was successfully rendered. Now let's open our comments component. And actually here we first of all need to fetch our comments. And here also we need to pass inside props our current user ID, which we passed from our parent. And here we need the state where we will store all our comments that we're getting from the backend. This is why here I will create a variable for backend comments, and here we need a setter set backend comments. And here we will use useState hook. This is the standard stuff from React, which help us to create state inside our components. And actually by default we will have here an empty array, because by default we don't have any data and our backend comments are blank. Now we need here to add useEffect. Why we need useEffect? Because we want to fetch data, and this is a side effect. This is why all work with API we are always writing inside useEffect. And here as a second parameter I am providing an empty array. It means that this useEffect will be triggered only once after mounting the component. Now here inside we can write any asynchronous code. It can be, for example, fetch from our API, but in our case we want to use a function from our API.js helper. This is why here on the top we can write here import get comments from, and here will be two dots /API. But actually I want to name all these functions from API with API postfix. This is why here we can use as and write get comments API. In this case we know, okay, this function is exactly to work with API. Now we can jump inside our useEffect and write here get comments. And actually get comments API is returning for us a promise. This is why here we can write then, and we're getting back data, which will be the array of our backend comments. This is why here inside onSuccess we can set with set backend comments our data that we got from the backend. And now let's console log our backend comments and check if it's working at all. So here we have console log backend comments, and now let's jump inside browser and reload the page. As you can see, by default our backend comments are empty, and then after fetch we're getting 4 comments. And this is exactly our flat array that we're getting from our API and storing inside our comments. The next step is to write markup for our comments. This is why we can remove here return and write normal markup. So here we will have our div with class name, and here will be comments. And actually all this CSS is prepared for you inside source folder, so don't forget to import it. So here we have our div class comments, and inside this div we have our h3 with class name, and here will be comments dash title, and here inside we're writing word comments. After this we have our container for the list of comments. This is why here class name comments dash container. And let's close this div, and inside we want to map through our comments, but actually we are getting here flat array of all our comments, and some of these comments are actually replies. So here first of all we must get our root comments and then render their replies. This is why here I want to create new variable root comments. And actually it is really simple to get our root comments. These are all comments where parent ID equals null, which means they don't have parent ID. And here we're taking our backend comments filter, and we want to filter them by this predicate. This is why here we have access to backend comment, and we just check that backend comment dot parent ID equals null. In this case we know that this is our root comment. And now here inside our div we can map through our root comments. This is why here we simply write root comments.map, and we get access to each of our root comments. And now inside we can return some markup for this root comment, for example div, and just simple text inside, for example root comment dot body, because we know body is our text. And let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page. We're getting an error, actually a warning that we didn't provide a key, but as you can see here 2 comments were rendered, because actually we just have 2 root comments. So everything is working fine, we just need to fix this key. And if you don't know inside React, we always must provide a unique key when we have a map. This is why here we have a map, and here is our div. And here we must have a unique key. In this case, React can render it correctly and re-render when we change an array. This is why here we must provide root comment.id. Why ID? Because actually ID of the comment is always unique. And the wrong way here would be to use an index, because if we remove the comment, then the indexes are wrong and React can't render our comments correctly. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page, we don't have any errors, and here are our comments, first comment and second comment. Now we actually need to render the whole comment inside additional component. This is why here we don't need to use div, but we want to use our additional component comment and provide inside first of all key, because in other case React will scream, and secondly we want to provide here the comment. And here we can write directly root comment, because we need to access the whole comment inside our comment component. And now we can remove this div, we don't need it anymore, but we must import here our comment. This is why here on the top I am importing our comment component from, and here will be comment component. Now let's open this component. As you can see, we don't have anything here, but now we know that inside props we always are getting our comment. And actually now we don't have any state here, we can simply return some markup. This is why here let's return. We have here div with class name, and here will be comment. Let's close this div, and inside first div we will have one more div with an image. And actually for this project I already prepared an image of a user. This is why here we can jump inside root directory public, and here I have an image user icon.png. So you can also take it from source code in the description box below. And this is why here we can write div class name, and here will be our image. So here will be comment, image, container, and inside this div we will have our image. This is why here we are writing image, source, and here we have slash user-icon.png. And I will close here this image. Now after this we need to write div class name, and here will be class comment-write-part. Let's close this div, and inside we will have first of all our comment content. This is why here comment content. Let's close this div, and inside our content we will render first of all the author. This is why here we will have div class name comment author, and here inside we simply render information from the comment that we passed. This is why here is comment.username, and we are getting this information inside our every comment. And after this we need one more div to render created at, and we don't need any class here, but just to render comment.created at. And after our comment content we want to render our body. This is why here we can write div class name, here we have our comment text. Let's close this div, and inside we want to write comment.body. And actually this was the whole markup for our comment. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page, and as you can see these are our comments. So we successfully fetched our comments and rendered each of them with additional component. Our next step is to render our replies. How we can do it? Actually, as you can see in comment, we have access only to the comment. We don't have access to replies, and we don't have access to our full root comments. This is why we need to jump directly inside comments and here somehow pass inside comments our replies. And actually we can't really calculate it before here because we have a lot of root comments, which means we must calculate it on the fly. And for this I want to create here a new function which will return replies for specific comment. This is why here we can create getReplies function, and here we are getting comment ID. And comment ID for us is the unique identifier of our parent. This is why we can simply take our backend comments and find all replies of our current comment. This is why here inside I want to return our backend comments and we have access from them on the top. This is our state, and here I want to do filter. And inside I have our backend comment, and I want to check if backend comment dot parent ID, so our parent, equals comment ID. In this case we are getting the array of our replies. But it's not all, because we want to sort them ascending. What does it mean? Actually, normally when we see all our comments, we want new comments to be on the top. This is really easy to do, and this makes a lot of sense because we will have our form on the top, then we're hitting submit, and here we see our new comment. But when we're working with replies, it must be inverted. Why is that? Because actually in replies, we want to see new comments on the bottom. Let's check this out. What I need to do here is to make sort. And actually here we can use plain JavaScript sort. So here we have A and B as an arguments, and I want to check here for created at. But actually, as you can see here inside the API, we're getting our created at attribute as an ISO string. And this is totally fine because this is standard format, how you are getting dates from the backend. The main point is that here we need to convert it from string to JavaScript date. This is why here we need to write new date, and we are passing inside a.createdAt. This is the property that we compare. And here we need to convert it in milliseconds to compare. This is why here we can use getTime. And as you can see, this function returns our time value in milliseconds. And after this, we need to write minus new date. And here we have our b.createdAt.getTime. And this single line will sort our replies in ascending order. Now we can simply use this function when we are passing replies inside our comment. So what I want to do here is to pass new property replies. And here we can call a function. This is why here we need brackets, and then we're calling our getReplies function, and we're passing inside rootComment.id. So actually here we're calculating replies on the fly every single time when we're rendering our comment. And sure, it can be not that performant if you have like 1000 comments on the page. But normally in small or medium application you won't have that many comments. If you have really a lot of comments, I highly recommend you to think about lazy loading. Now we can jump inside our comment component. And we know that now we are getting here our replies on our comment. Now after our comment text here, we want to render our list of replies. So we know that replies is an array and it can be empty array, then we should not render anything. This is why here I want to check, okay, if our length bigger than 0, only then we want to render our markup, because in other case we will have some empty containers. This is why here I put and here is our markup for our replies. So here we have our div class name, and here we have replies class. Let's close this div, and inside we must render our replies. So here we have our replies.map, and here we're getting each reply. And for each reply we want to render some markup. And actually our reply is a comment, which means we are rendering our comments recursively. This is why here I can call our comment and close it here. And now we must provide first of all our comment inside. And actually comment that we want to render will be our reply. This is why here I am writing comment equals reply. We also must provide inside a key property because we are inside our map. And inside key we can simply say reply.id because all our replies are comments and they are unique by default. And last but not least is we need to pass inside our replies. And here I want to write replies equals, and here will be empty array. And this is extremely important because we're saying, okay, our replies can't have any nested comments. And this is really important for performance because in this case, first of all, you don't need to write a lot of logic. And secondly, you won't have performance problems or problems with rendering or with UI because we simply have two levels of our comments and not more. Now let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page, and as you can see here, we're getting our replies. So actually this means that first of all we rendered all our root comments, and after this for each comment we got from our flat array our replies, and we rendered these replies. Our next step is to build our comment form correctly. Let's jump inside our comments, and here on the top we must render our comment form. But first of all, here we must write one more div where inside we will have text regarding our comment form. And here will be our comment form title. Let's close this div, and inside let's write comment. And after this we have our comment form. So actually here we can call our comment form, and the question is what we need to provide inside. And actually our comment form will be super reusable. First of all, we will create new comments with it. Secondly, we will create replies with it. And third, we will edit comments with it. This is why we must provide some configuration. At least we need to provide here submit label, because we will have different label, for example, for edit and for creating our comment. This is why here I will write submit label, for example, write. And after this, we also need handle submit, and this will be our handler when we submit the form, which actually means our comment form will be completely stateless. Yes, it will have internal state for our body, but actually it will just give inside props on the top our submit, and then our parent will do the job. This is why here we are creating handle submit, and let's name this function add comment. And now here on the top, we must create this function. This is why let's create here a new function, add comment, and here we will get two things. First of all, it will be text, and secondly, parent ID. With text, I think it is clear, our comment form must say what we typed inside. But actually, we also must provide a parent ID for later, because actually when we are doing a reply, this means that we are creating the comment which is a child of another comment, which means our comment form must say for us, okay, here is the parent ID where we want to create the comment. But you will see it a little bit later. But for now, we created it here just to remember that we need to implement it. And here I will simply write console log add comment, and here we are getting text and our parent ID. Now we also need to import our comment form here on the top. So let's add it here. We have our comment form from, and here is our comment form component. Now let's jump inside comment form, and we know that we are getting here two new props. First of all, it is handle submit, and secondly, it is submit label that we just created. Now inside we must create some state where we will store our text that we are typing. This is why here we can create a state for our text, and we need here setter setText. And we are using here useStateHook, and as a default value here we will have an empty string. Now let's write our markup. So here we need to return a form, because actually our comment form is a real form that we want to submit. This is why here we have form, and here we have onSubmit function. And actually here we want to create additional onSubmit function, so we can at least do even prevent default. This is why here on the top I will create onSubmit function, and here we're getting our event. So what we want to do inside is first of all event.preventDefault, so our form won't be submitted by default, and secondly we want to call our handle submit. This is what we provided from outside, so this is our callback, and inside we will give our text that we have here as a state. Now let's close our form here and write inside our markup. So here we need a text area with our class name, and here will be comment form text area, and after this we need a value, and actually our value will be our text. And after this we need also onChange event. So when we are changing our form, we will get event here, and we want to call setText and provide inside event.target.value. In this case, our value inside text area will be synced with our state. Let's close our text area, and after this we must create a button to submit our form. This is why here let's create a button with class name, and here will be comment form button, and inside we want to render our submit label. This is why here we can simply call submit label property. And we actually don't need any submit event here, because this button has type submit by default, and here it will be submitted through our form. Let's check if it's working. I'm reloading the page, we don't have any errors. Here is our write comment form, and here is our write word on submit label, which actually means that this value we passed from the outside, and actually our form is already working. So here I'm clicking write, and as you can see we are getting an error. Handle submit is not a function. Let's check this out. Actually here we have handle submit from outside, which means it is broken in outside. And as you can see, here is our comment form, and here I am passing add comment. And as you can see, this is a string and not a value. And actually we need to use here brackets, so we pass here value by reference and not just a plain string. Let's reload the page, type something and hit write. And as you can see, we don't have any errors, and here we're getting our console log add comment, and here is our state. And of course parent ID is undefined because we didn't pass it yet. The next thing that I want to fix is first of all cleaning our text area. And actually this is really simple to fix. First of all, we must jump inside our onSubmit, and after our handle submit, we want to call our setText and provide here an empty string. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page, typing something, write, and as you can see, our text area is empty. The second thing that I want to do here is disable a button when we don't have any text. And this is also simple. We can create here additional property is text area disabled. And actually this property will be calculated based on our text. This is why here we can write text length equals 0. This means if our text is 0, this property will be in true. Now we just need to add disabled property on our button. This is why here I want to add disabled and write here that we need to listen to is text area disabled. In this case, we will disable our button if we don't have any text. Let's check this out. As you can see, our button is disabled by default. Now we're typing something and we can hit write. And the last thing that I want to fix in our comment is working with API. And actually, let's jump inside our comments and check our add comment function. And actually, as you can see, I have here helpers of API, and here I have a function create comment. And as you can see, this is a mock function, obviously, this is a sync function, and we're getting here text and parent ID, and return here a new comment. And here we're generating unique ID, then we're passing inside body, parent ID created at, and so on. Obviously, in a real application, you will get this information from backend when it inserts this new record in the database. The most important part here that you should never pass to your API current user ID. Your backend needs to know by itself with what user you are logged in. This is why this you only need to get from the backend but not provide. This is why for backend we are providing only text and parent ID. Now here on the top we must import this function. This is why here create comment, and I also want to rename it to create comment API. Now inside our add comment we can simply work with this function like with the function which returns the promise, which means this is exactly like API request. This is why here we can write create comment API, and here we must provide first of all text and secondly parent ID. And we know that this function will return for us a promise. This is why here we can write then, and we're getting back a comment that was created. And after this, we must modify our array of comments inside state. For this, we can write set backend comments, and here we must provide a new array. So actually, we want our new comment to be at the beginning. This is why here will be our new comment, and after this, I am spreading our backend comments that we already have. Let's check this out. I'm saving it and reloading the page. As you can see here, we have first comment. Now here I'm typing something and click write. And as you can see, here is our new comment, which was rendered after our promise was successfully fulfilled. Let's try once again. I'm typing something, hit and write, and as you can see, our comment is there. Now it's time to render our action buttons under each comment. And actually we have 3 of them. It is reply, edit, and delete. So actually after our comment body, we want to create new div with class name comment actions. Now inside we need 3 additional divs with different text. So here we will have div with class name, and here will be comment action, and inside we want to render our text and it will be reply. We also can copy paste this 2 times, and here after reply will be edit, and after it will be delete. Let's check this out, how it looks like. I'm reloading the page, and here are our 3 buttons, reply, edit, and delete, and we rendered them in every comment. But we can't just render them like this, because actually now we rendered action buttons for every comment, and we have comments with different users, which actually means we can manage these buttons only with our current user when our current user is an author of the comment, and we need to check it. How we can do it? Actually here, as you can see inside our app, we passed inside comments current user ID, and this information we're getting from somewhere outside. The main point is that inside our comments, we must give this information in every single comment. This is why here I want to create new props, and let's name it current user ID, and we simply pass here current user ID. And as you can see here on the top, we're getting from props inside comments current user ID. And now inside comment we are getting as a prop our current user ID that we can use. And actually here I want to create 3 different properties: can reply, can edit, and can delete. Because actually can reply means that we are logged in, which means we have current user ID. In our case, of course, because it is mocked, it will be always there. But in real website, if you are not logged in, then your current user ID is null. Which means here we can write, for example, can reply property, and we can calculate it just by taking boolean and writing inside current user ID. Which means this can reply will be boolean based on our current user ID. If it's, for example, null, then we're getting false. If we have an ID, then it will be true. The next thing is can edit. Actually, here I want to create can edit, and here we want to compare our current user ID and our comment.userID. And this is exactly why we need this user ID inside comment, to compare this and know if we can edit this comment or not. But actually it's not all, we can do better. I really like to disable editing and deleting comments after 5 minutes after comment was created, because if somebody wants to change it, then he can do it on the spot. And after some time we don't want to allow editing of the comments to not lose the context. This is why here we can create additional property, 5 minutes. And here I will write 3 and 5 zeros. And actually this is 5 minutes. And after this we can create new property time passed. This is the amount of time that passed after comment was created. So what I want here is take new date, and new date means now minus new date, and here inside I want to pass comment.createdAt. So basically the time when comment was created. And here we're comparing that it is bigger than 5 minutes, which actually means that here we will get our boolean, and either it is bigger than 5 minutes, then time passed and it is true, or it is less and we can edit our comment. This is why here inside can edit, we can also add additional property and check here if it's not time passed. In this case it means even when we are an author, we are checking for this time passed, and if 5 minutes already passed, then we don't allow to manage this comment. And now we need to do the same with can delete, and actually it will have the same logic. So here current user ID equals comment.userID, and here we have and time passed. And actually here we might create just a single property can manage, but I will create 2 of them in case we have different logic later. Now we need to wrap each of our divs with some logic. This is why here we have reply, we're just writing can reply, and here will be our div. After this we are writing the same for can edit, and here we will have our markup with div. And the last one here will be delete. This is why here can delete, and here is our markup. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page, and as you can see we don't have any buttons here, we have just a reply. And actually this is happening because 5 minutes already passed and we are not allowed to manage these comments. And here when we create new comment, we have directly these buttons and they are available for us. And here we have one small problem. As you can see in the first comment we have reply button, but on the second level we don't have any buttons at all. And this is happening because we didn't provide inside our replies enough information. As you can see here, we need to provide in our comment, replies, and current user ID. And here we just passed comment and replies. So we must add here current user ID equals current user ID, which actually means in every single reply we must provide the same information as inside our comment. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page, and here is our reply button. And one more small thing that I want to improve is our created ad. As you can see, it doesn't look good and not UI friendly. This is why here on the top we can create additional property, and let's name it created ad. And here we can simply call new date and pass inside our comment.createdAd, and after this to locale date string. In this case we will see just a beautiful date. Now we need to change this comment.createdAd to just property createdAd. As you can see in browser, it is looking much better now. Now let's implement the easiest of our 3 actions, and this is delete. So actually here we have our div with delete, and here we need to add onClick event, because when we're clicking we want to delete our comment. So what we want to do here, we want to call delete comment method and pass inside the ID of the comment that we want to delete. And actually this means that this is our callback from parent, what we want to call. This is why here we are passing comment.id. In this case, we know in parent what comment we need to remove. This is why here we can add this delete comment in our props on the top, because now this is a mandatory prop. Now we need to jump to parent and add here inside our comment this delete comment. And I'm pasting here delete comment also. And just to remind you, we should not forget to add this delete comment to our replies, because as you can see here, this is also a comment and we must provide here delete comment function also. And now inside our comments we must create an additional function like we did with add comment. So here will be our delete comment and here we just get comment ID. Now we need to import our helper to delete comment. This is why here on the top I will import delete comment as delete comment API. And now we can use this method. We don't need anything from it, but I want to add confirmation first. This is why I will write here if window.confirm, and here we are passing some message. For example, are you sure that you want to remove comment? And if the user clicked yes, then we want to call our API. This is why here we are writing delete comment API and we are passing inside our comment ID that we want to remove. Then we are waiting for our success and we don't need any response, we just need to know that it was successful, and here we need to update the list of our backend comments. This is why here we can create updated backend comments, and we want to remove the comment with this comment ID. And for this we can use filter. This is why here we can write backend comments dot filter, and here we are getting each backend comment, and we just need to write a condition where our backend comment dot ID does not equal our comment ID that we have here. In this case we will leave all our backend comments except of this comment ID. And after this we must call our set backend comments function and just provide inside updated backend comments. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page. We must create a new comment here because we need to manage it. And here we have a delete. Now I'm hitting delete. And as you can see, we have this nice pop-up. Are you sure that you want to remove comment? I'm clicking OK and this comment is gone, which means we successfully implemented deleting of the comment. Our next step will be to implement reply and editing. And for them we need the same logic. We need to store somewhere our active comment. What does word active means? Active means that we are in replying state or we are inside editing state. So what is my idea? Here we have our comments component, and here on the top we can create a new state. And let's name it active comment, and here will be our set active comment. And here we're using our useState, and by default it is null. So my idea that we have two different objects when we have an active comment. We either have an object with type, and here will be, for example, editing, and then we need the ID. So ID of the comment will be, for example, 1. This is the first case. The second case that we are in reply state, and then we have type, for example, replying, and the ID will be 1. In this case, we know on what comment we are replying now. So this is the idea, but this information we need inside our comment component. First of all, we need to provide here our active comment, and here I will just put active comment, and the next one will be set active comment. And here we pass in our setter, which actually means inside we can call the function and set there whatever we want, and we will change the state of our parent. Now let's jump inside our comment component, and here on the top we need our active comment and also a setter for active comment. And what we want to do now, we have here our reply button, and here we need onClick event. This is why here let's write our onClick, and here we want to make a set. So we need to call our setActiveComment, and here we need to create a correct object. First of all, here we need an ID, and this is our comment.id, and secondly we need a type, and our type will be replying. So when we're hitting on reply button, we're setting our state, our active comment, to this object. So everywhere we know the ID and our type. And actually we can directly do exactly the same with our edit button. So I will copy paste completely this on click because it will be exactly the same. And here we can paste it inside our div, and we just need to change here type from replying to editing. In this case we are activating our editing mode, and we still must provide inside our ID comment ID. The next thing that we need to do is to render our replying form, which actually means we must render it only when we have an active comment and the type is replying like we set it here. So let's go here to the line where we have replies length and we're rendering replies, and before we can write here logic. So here if we have a property is replying, and I will create this property in a second, then we want to render our form. And actually what is our form? This is our normal comment form, and we already tuned it, so we can call here submit label and write here reply, so we change our button, and here will be our handle submit. And here we have our function, and we want to call here add comment. But actually inside we must provide not only text but also parent ID. Why parent ID? Because we are replying on some comment, and our backend must know where we want to put this comment. This is why first of all here we are passing our text, and secondly our reply ID. So once again, this code will work only when is replying property is there, and we will create it in a second. And here we are using our comment form, which is just our normal stateless comment form. And inside we are passing our submit label and handle submit. And on handle submit we are calling our standard normal add comment that we already did here. The main difference here is that we are providing not only text, but also reply ID. So the first question, what is replying property? And let's create it here on the top. So we can create is replying, and we know that it means that we have our active comment and active comment.type equals replying. And it's not all, we also need to check our ID. This is why here will be and here we need to check active comment.id equals our comment.id. In this case we know specific comment where we need to render our comment form. And we can do exactly the same with is editing property. So we need it also for later. This is why here I will create is editing. We have here active comment, type equals editing, and ID equals comment ID. And the last thing here will be our reply ID. And actually we already used it there on the bottom, and it was our parent ID. But actually I won't write here comment.parent ID. It makes sense actually, but not for nested comments. We always want to have only two levels of our comments, root level and the next level. This is why here I will write if we have parent ID, then I want to put here parent ID. And if we don't have parent ID, then I will put here comment ID. And actually, if you can see, we don't have here parent ID, and this is extremely important. Actually, here we can have a property parent ID, and it will be null by default, which actually makes sense because all our root comments don't have parent ID. But all our replies can have parent ID, which means for the root comments it will be parent ID null. And what we are doing then, we are checking, do we have parent ID? No. Then we will use our comment ID. But actually when we are talking about our replies, and here are our replies, we need to pass here parent ID correctly. So it's not null anymore, it is comment.id. So once again, to create a comment here with add comment, we need our reply ID. And what is our reply ID? This is the check for parent ID, and if we have parent ID, so we are replying on some comment, then we just took this parent ID. And if parent ID is null, then we simply use our comment ID. Let's check now if our code is working. I'm reloading the page and everything is broken. So first of all, add comment is not defined. As you can see here, we are passing add comment, but we don't have here this method. This means that we must provide here add comment function and also here inside our replies. So here I will also add our add comment, and we must provide it from our comments. This means that here we will write add comment to add it inside our child component. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page and we don't have any errors. Now here let's click on reply. And as you can see, we directly see our form here. So how does it work? Here we have our comment component, and here we have our reply button. And here we are setting active comment inside our parent state, and we are providing here ID and type replying. Then we are passing this information in every single comment with this code of active comment props. And after this, each comment can calculate if we are replying or not. And as you can see here, we have this code for is replying. And if we are replying, then we are rendering here this comment form. And this is extremely important because actually when we will hit this reply, we don't want to render this comment form anymore. We want to render it here on the bottom. And it will be changed automatically when we change the state with another ID. Let's check this out. I'm hitting here and we're getting some error. Actually, set active comment is not a function, which means we didn't provide it from outside. But actually the problem is that we didn't provide it to our reply. As you can see here, there is no such information. So first of all, here we need to pass our active comment to calculate this information and also a setter set active comment. So we are passing exactly the same what we are passing to our parent. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page and we're getting here text is not defined. Let's check what we have in our 72 line. So we have our comment form and here add comment. And actually we're getting this text as a parameter here from our handle submit. So our comment form directly informs us what text we need to use in our add comment. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page and hitting now reply. And as you can see now our comment form is rendered after this specific comment. Then we're hitting here reply and our comment form is rendered after another comment. Which actually means in this comment we changed our state inside parent and our parent passed this information to every single comment, and after this comment form was rendered. Which means our reply is working and now here we can write something. And as you can see, I am now replying on our root comment. And I'm hitting here reply, and as you can see, this is our information. So add comment, this was the text, and this was our parent ID, which actually means this is our root comment, this is completely correct. And now the point is that we are replying to the comment that we just created. I'm passing here something, clicking reply, and as you can see here, we are getting exactly the same parent ID. What does it mean? We are replying here on the comment on the second level, which actually means we might create the next level. But we don't do it because we wrote this logic with reply here. And actually when we are replying on the third level, we are creating the comment on the previous level. And as you can see here, when we are replying, our new comments are going to the bottom. And the only problem that I see here, our reply form is not closed after we successfully replied. But we can actually easily fix it. First of all, we need to jump inside our comments and here our add comment. So inside our then, when we successfully updated our comments, we want to set back our active comment to null. This is why here we can simply write set active comment and here we can pass inside null. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page. I'm creating here a new reply, and after hitting reply, our form is not there anymore. And we can see our created reply. Which actually means we successfully created our replies functionality and we just need to implement editing. But it will be really a breeze because our architecture is really good. For this we must jump back inside our comment, and here we already have this property is editing, so we know when we are inside editing state. And we also wrote here this click event for editing button, and here as you can see we set inside active comment our ID and type. Which actually means we simply need to render here different information. So we're rendering here comment body when we're not in editing state. Let's write this now. We can write here logic. If we're not inside is editing state, then we're rendering here this div. But if we're inside editing state, we want to render our comment form. And for this here, I will write if we're inside editing state, then here will be our form. And we will use this comment form that we just created. And first of all, inside we're passing new submit label. It will be update. And now we need to tune it a little bit, because we also need here a cancel button. This is why I will write here has cancel button, because actually we don't need to render it always, but just for editing. And we also need here initial text. Why? Because we're editing this comment and we must provide inside form some initial data. This is why here we also will create initial text and we just provide here comment.body, which means the content of our comment. And after this, we need a handle submit function. So actually, when we are submitting this form, which means editing, we need to call here our update comment. And we don't have this function here, but we will provide it in a second. And inside update comment, we need two things. First of all, our text, and secondly, comment ID, because our backend must know what comment we need to update. And actually it's not all, we also need handle cancel, because actually our form doesn't know how to handle it, and we also need to create it. This is why here I will simply create handle cancel function, and here inside what we need to do is to set our active comment to null. And actually here we already have set active comment, so we can directly set it to null. So this is our new API for our comment form. So we have here has cancel button, initial text, and handle cancel. And we just need to create these three properties inside our comment form. This is why I will open it here on the right, and here let's pass all new properties. First of all, it's handle cancel button, then initial text, and handle cancel. And it will be useful to just set has cancel button by default to false, because it will be just true in our editing state. And we also have here initial text, and we can set it by default to empty string, because actually in all cases except of edit, it will be our empty string. And handle cancel we must provide always, and if we didn't provide it, it means that our has cancel button is also false and we don't need to render it. So now first of all we must set inside our default value inside text here initial text, and in our create and reply forms it will be an empty string because we set it here and we don't provide it from outside. But inside our editing form it will be set it from outside, and then we will have our correct state. The next step here is to render our cancel button. Actually here we have our submit label, and after this we want one more button, and here we need to write our logic. So if has cancel button is true, then we need to render additionally button. And here will be button with type button, because we don't want to submit our form, and here will be special class name. And it will be here comment form button, so just like submit, but also comment form cancel button, because it has specific styles. And after this we need our onClick event, and here we must provide our handle cancel. And handle cancel is just a function from our props, so we don't have it here. So what we did here, we rendered our cancel button only when we provided has cancel true from outside. Now let's check if it's working. So I'm reloading the page and we don't have any errors. Now we must create new comment, and here it is, and I'm hitting edit. And as you can see, voila, we see our comment form with text directly. The only problem is here that we didn't render any text inside the button, but it is easy to fix. Here inside our button, we just need to write cancel, and after this we can close our button tag. Let's reload the page, write here a comment and click edit. As you can see, now we have two buttons, update and cancel, and here we don't see our body anymore because this is the editing state of our comment, and here we rendered our text. Now we can change it and hit update. But as you can see, nothing is working because we didn't pass our update comment inside our comment. This is why we need to jump inside our comment and here update comment function, and we should not forget to pass it to our replies also. This is why here I will write update comment equals update comment, and here on the top inside our comment component we also want to pass inside props our update comment function. And actually here I have a wrong import, this is not correct, this was auto import of my editor. Now we need to jump inside our comments, and here on the bottom we must provide update comment function and pass it here as a props. But we don't have this function at all here, this is why we must create it. This is why here after our delete comment I want to create our update comment function, and we're getting here our text and comment ID that we must update. And now inside we must call our API for update. This is why here on the top I can call update comment as update comment API and use it inside this function. So what we want to do now, we want to call update comment API, and we're passing inside our text and comment ID. We're waiting for success, so here we're writing then, and we're getting back our comment. But actually here we don't need any information because we already got text here and we know what comment we need to update. This is why here we can simply update our comments inside the state. And the easiest way to do it is by using map. So what I want to create here is updated backend comments, and here we want to map through our backend comments with map, and here we're getting each comment. And inside we now need to write the logic. We want to compare our backend comment.id with our comment ID that we want to update. And actually here inside we will have logic of updating. And if it's not equal, then we simply return our backend comment. What does it mean? Here we will get our array of updated backend comments, and we're mapping through them, and we simply change only single comment that we want to update. For all other comments, we simply return them as it is. Now inside this if, we just need to override our body property. This is why here I will return new object, and I want to spread the whole backend comment here and just override body property with the new text that we passed here inside our function. And after this, we simply need to set our backend comments with updated backend comments. Let's check this out. I'm reloading the page. We must create a comment, and here I'm hitting edit. This is our comment. I'm writing something, hitting update, and as you can see, our form is still there because we forgot to set our active comment to null. This is why after this line, we need to call setActiveComment and pass inside null. Let's save this and reload the page. And here we want to create a comment, hit edit and change it. Now I'm hitting update, and as you can see, we directly see our changed comment after we got successful response from our API, which actually means we can reply here and create another comment, and here we can also hit edit, and then we're editing this specific comment by this ID. Then we can change it and hit update. But the most important part that we're doing it only for 5 minutes, and after this we can't update comments anymore. We successfully created our nested comments inside React with replies, editing and deleting. And as you can see, it's not an easy feature at all, but you really need it in almost every project. And also, if you want to learn how to build your own custom select, don't forget to check this video also.